What's poppin', fam? Welcome to Don't Touch My Mindset, a podcast that is designed to uplift, inspire, and motivate you, and most importantly, share tools to help you protect that mindset. Season 6 is on the way, but we are taking a short break from the mindset episodes, from pivotal moments, and we're going to hone in on something that I have been creating for almost a year now, guys, and that's the Amplify workshop. Like, honestly, it's 2 days in person where we come together, we share knowledge, expertise, guidance, and we have fun. We grow in a collective environment, right? And you guys know me, I'm all about personal growth, professional growth. That's what we teach, along with our leadership development and communication skills. But I wanted to do something a little different, right? I wanted to highlight some of the speakers that I'm actually going to be having coming out to Scottsdale, Arizona with us, and let you guys get to know them a little bit better, let you hear their story, let you hear why they lead, why they do what they do, what they're doing, and just kind of get to experience them a little bit. So this is going to be a fun, knowledgeable, insightful, extraordinary conversation. And the first guest that we have on is none other than a returning guest to the podcast is Miss Madeline Forrest, the creator of Happiest Sober podcast, the creator of Happiest Sober Hub, just a all-around phenomenal leader, supporter, and just game changer in the sober community. Miss Forrest, how are you? How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here.
Good. I'm like thrilled to have you back on the podcast, but even more excited to have you in person with us in Scottsdale, Arizona in January. One, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Amplify? How do you feel about getting involved in this? What made you want to get involved with this?
Oh my God. First of all, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to go to Scottsdale. I'm excited for the workshop. I'm excited to meet you in person. And like, honestly, the number one thing that made me want to say yes and be involved in this was like my friendship with you. It was just a no-brainer. Like, I'm so excited to be a part of everything you're doing and to, get to have that in person. Yeah, it's just gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. And you know, if you guys don't know, Madeline was back on the podcast back in like July or June
2022 though.
2022.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And we have grown our friendship over the course of this year of just getting to know each other better, helping each other out. I always say that shared thinking is better than trying to do it by yourself. So shared and sustained thinking. So we've been able to grow with each other along this process with each of our businesses. But over this course of time, Madeline, you have just recently hit 3 years sober?
Yeah, I hit 3 years sober actually a month ago today, funny enough. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about that, because I want this I really want to talk to you about just continuous growth, right? As we close out 2023, as we move into 2024. I know a lot of people are reflecting on the year last year, but I like to focus on preparation for the year next ahead of us, because a lot of people, you know, as you do, offer more support during the holidays, and you know, it gets a little hard. And so I want to talk about this growth that you've experienced over the past 3 years of one, being sober, discovering who you are, becoming the leader that you are. Well, first, we always got to build a foundation. Take us back to before, right? Always take us back to before this happened. When did you know that the path that you were on was not serving you or your personal growth anymore?
Oh man. I think I definitely knew for a while, but I feel like it's something you kind of realize gradually because you have these little moments of knowing it in your gut and then not being ready to face it and like being too scared. So, I can even look back to, being in school, like being like in university in my party days and then kind of knowing in my gut, like, ooh, I think I'm seeing red flags with my drinking, not being remotely ready to face that. When I was 24, I moved to Australia for a year. partied nonstop the whole entire time. And like that really led me to not a good place. Like when I look back at my time there, it's such highs and lows. And halfway through the year, I was like, I need to take a month off of drinking. Like this is not good. I didn't do it. I drank that day. And then by the end of the year, I was like, I need to figure my shit out when I get home. Like I can't keep going on this way. Again, got home, had like a little time. I started a quit lit book for the first time. I started reading The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. This is like beginning of 2019. Started it, didn't finish it, kept drinking. And then it was really like at the very end of 2019 when I had a really heavy month of drinking around the holidays. I blacked out at my work Christmas party. I was in a shame spiral about that. I just had like a few events that really kind of shook me. So I did dry January at the beginning of 2020. And then again, wasn't ready after that. Like, it's this back and forth of knowing it, but not being ready. And then the pandemic with me, as with, I think so many others, sent my drinking on a whole other level, sent me into kind of like drinking almost every day. And then I just woke up one day and I was ready. Like I woke up one day and I was like, enough is enough. I cannot keep living this way. I cannot keep feeling this way. It was just my light bulb moment. And that was when I was ready to face it. So I always think it's interesting, like nothing bad happened the night before that. It was the most uneventful night with one of my closest friends. Like nothing at all happened, but I just woke up and I was like with alcohol, I was full of anxiety. I was full of shame. And it was just my moment of being done.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't have to be any more than just your moment of being done.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
It doesn't have to be any more or any less. It's like, yo, if you're ready, you're ready. And it may take us a little bit of time to get there. So fast forward 3 years, right? 3 years later, tell everybody in your own words, how have you grown in these past 3 years, just on a quick glance, just looking back from where you started in that night full of shame, anxiety, nothing like big happened, but you were just ready to make that shift. And just tell us, what growth have you seen in the past 3 years?
Yeah. Oh my God, so much. But to make it like a quick answer, I would say I'm so much more confident in myself. I'm so much more at peace with my life. I'm so much happier, hence happy as sober. Not meaning life is perfect now by any stretch, but just meaning that I'm so much happier in my life when alcohol is not in it, and I'm so much more equipped to deal with the natural ups and downs that come in life. But I think also a really big thing is that I think I'm a much more brave person. Like I think that getting sober is such a scary thing to do, and it's such a hard thing to do. And once you've done that, it's like you prove to yourself how capable you are of doing things that feel hard, and of doing things that like you once believed weren't even possible for you. Like I couldn't imagine life without drinking. So it's like once you overcome that, then it's like you just believe in your ability to do hard and scary things. And so I think when I look back at my 3 years, I'm like, I've done so many things that I would have been way too scared to do. I think I led a much more timid life when I was drinking, I would say.
I love that statement because, looking at it when we're in it, in the thick of it, we think we're living fun, we're being adventurous,
Hugely.
and really we're clutching on to our comfort zone.
Yes.
Right.
It's a
And,
crutch. Yeah.
and what you've created with Happy as Sober, right? Sober trips, right? Sober meetups, like just being able to curate a happy life around without the influence of alcohol. So tell us, what does being brave and not living a timid life look like to you today?
Yeah, I think it just looks like it's not being scared of things, but it's like being scared of things or being nervous about things and still doing them. So it's like showing up online and sharing vulnerable things. It's having a podcast, coming on podcasts. Like that would have been so scary for me. It's like speaking, I went to an event this spring by a sober Toronto guy, Luke. His handle is Marathon to Sobriety. And I spoke on a panel there, which would have been so out of my comfort zone. It's coming to things like what you're doing. It's flying sober. I've always had a fear of flying. I used to drink to fly. It's doing things like hosting trips. Like it's just constantly being willing to stretch myself and push myself out of my comfort zone. It doesn't mean I'm not uncomfortable. It means I'm willing to be uncomfortable.
That's huge. And it's always having that desire to stretch. I say, and this is for the listeners here. I promise you, growth only occurs when you keep tension from where you are and where you want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the tension between where you were and where you are now, but it's where you're headed. Like the cool thing that I see in you, Madeline, when I watch your brand and see the things that you're doing in the world, is that you're always elevating, you're always doing more, right? So real quick, talk to me about the last sober trip that you went on. I've never done anything like that, you know. Tell me what was the high and what was the low of it? Where'd you go? And what was the scariest thing that you faced and conquered on that trip?
Ooh, that's a good question because there's a great answer for it. So the trip, so I hosted a sober trip to Costa Rica in May, and it was 12 strangers all coming together. None of us had met, and there were people like everyone was sober, many people less than a year sober. Some people, like there was someone who booked it in their first month of sobriety when they saw it and used it as like an accountability tool for them. Like, I'm going to book this and that'll be something to stay sober for in a few months' time. So some people were newer, some people had been sober for years and years. There were people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, like all different ages, but we all left with such a bond because like sobriety is such a common bond, and it's a bunch of people coming and like willing to be uncomfortable doing something out of their comfort zone, right? So it was just like the most cool experience. It was the most amazing experience I've actually ever had. Like I had the most amazing time and like came away really with a group of lifelong friends. I actually hung out with 4 people from my trip last weekend. They came to visit. It was so fun. So that was just really cool, just seeing the connection. Because, like, we all know the connection of the sober community, but like seeing it in action like that was just something really, really special. The biggest fear I conquered was I'm afraid of heights. I'm the least adrenaline junkie person you will ever meet. I won't go on a roller coaster. I don't want, like, no part of me needs to get like a thrill from any of that. But I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and I like repelled off of a 200-foot waterfall while we were there. And I can't stress this enough. I don't do heights. Never. Like it's not my thing. But I did this, like it was this huge, we actually went down 4 waterfalls, but the highest one was 200 feet. And I was so terrified. I actually have a scar from it. Do you see that?
Battle wound, battle scars.
I was so nervous because when you go off the 200-foot one, you rappel a little bit and then they go, let go. And you just like fly backwards on kind of a zip line. But I was so scared that I was like holding on so tight that I got rope burned on my arm. And I still have a scar, but it's my little badge of honor. I was so scared. Like the actual experience of it was pretty horrible for me because I was terrified, but like getting to the bottom and being like, I just did that was a really cool feeling. Not so cool that I ever have to do it again, but I'm glad that I did it once.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I think that's something that you can wear with honor. Like you said, that's your
Literally,
badge of honor.
if this scar ever goes away, I'm tattooing it back.
I'm tattooing it back on. I need to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
And that's just a reminder, when we get outside of our comfort zone, we even surprise ourselves.
Hugely. Hugely. I was on this excursion and even like we had to we were traipsing through water to get to the next one, climbing through rocks. The whole time in my head, I was like, no one from home who knows me will understand what I just did here. No one will believe this. Like, I can't wait to tell them because it is the most off-brand thing because I'm such a chicken with that kind of thing. But yeah, that was like the ultimate pushing myself, like facing a fear big time. Yeah.
And now let me ask you, moving forward, planning your next sober trip, already going where? Croatia
in May. Yeah,
in May, right? What's like, we have a newfound confidence now for Zipline. We have a newfound confidence for the hard things, right? Not saying that we're going to volunteer, right?
Yeah.
But it's a newfound confidence within ourselves. Once we do hard things or things that we thought that we couldn't do, we learn things about ourselves, and that's growth in its own. So what would you say to somebody who has an event, a situation, something that's making them timid to act, how would you tell them to approach that or face that on looking forward?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's just like you don't have to not be scared or nervous or uncomfortable. It's just being willing to feel those feelings and do it anyway. Like, I think so often we wait to feel ready before we do something, but sometimes like the readiness will come from doing it, right? Like you can wait forever to feel ready, but if something's out of your comfort zone at a certain point, and obviously there's a difference between but like truly not being ready for something. Maybe if you're in your early days and you're not ready to go to a party, that's totally valid. But like if it's something that you know deep down you want to do and you want to conquer, and it's something that you want to overcome, but you feel nervous, it's just really being like, I can feel nervous and I can still do this.
It's
Like being
good.
willing to feel those feelings for sure.
Yeah, that's good. And a lot of us run from those feelings. Like a lot, like as soon as like
Mhm.
fear comes up in us, anything that we haven't faced before, the unknown, we fear of running out of resources. We fear of the unknown. We fear of losing our security.
Yeah.
We fear of our own strength sometimes. Like, am I strong enough to handle something like this? You know, and it's all at facing those fears and that desire on the other side of that. One, having something you value over everything. Like, what do you what would you say that your number one value is that you've discovered about yourself in these past 3 years?
I think probably connection.
Yeah.
Connecting with other people has been the highlight of my last few years, and it's especially cool because I used to think that connection came from drinking with people, and it's been so the opposite. Like getting sober, I've connected with the best people through sobriety.
And done some amazing things too. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be rappelling off 200 foot waterfalls by myself. I would have to have some connection with the people I'm around, right? Like, no,
Mhm.
if I'm going, you're going.
Right, exactly. I've said so many times, and I stand by this, if I was there in any other context, I would have been like, "See you guys later, have fun." Like, I would have chickened out at the top if I wasn't there, like, on a sober trip doing what I was doing. Like, I was just like, "I have to do this. I have no choice."
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, that that brings me to my next question, or this next little segment is just right. Let's get reflective about
Mhm.
your growth, about the things that you've accomplished, the things that you've done. The failures as well, the things that we've fallen just a little bit short on as well in these past 3 years. What do you think your top three lessons are? No particular order, just what do you think you what are the most valuable lessons that you three of them that you can pull out of these 3 years that you've experienced? One, getting to know yourself, growing yourself, sticking to being sober, growing a
Mhm.
community, experiencing the world, traveling. What are the top three lessons you think you can pull out?
Oh man. Okay. So 3 lessons. Well, one, basically really just going off what we were talking about. Like number one, just the whole, like, we can do hard things, we can face fears, we can be uncomfortable and like get to the other side of that. And that it's always so worth it when you do that. Um, I think also just that it's okay to change and evolve. Like I think when I first got sober, I was so stuck in people pleasing, which I still definitely struggle with people pleasing, but like I was like, I'm gonna get sober and I'm still gonna go out with all my old drinking buddies just as much, and I'm gonna prove that like nothing has to change even though I don't drink anymore. And I would stay out way later than I wanted to, and like really just coming to like I can own that things are changing for me, and like I don't want to be in a bar until 2 a.m. now that I'm sober, and like that's okay. um and a third lesson, I think I'm still like, getting sober really really opens you up to like working on yourself so much because you're not quieting your thoughts anymore, you're not numbing. And I think like something that this isn't really a lesson, it's something I'm still a work in progress on, is just like I feel like I'm still working on self-talk. And I think that's like a lesson though, is like to be easier on myself, especially this past year with everything that I'm doing. It's remembering that like you're doing enough. You don't always have to be doing more. Like, I think there's a lot of pressure on that sometimes, and sometimes I just need to cut myself a bit of a break.
Right, 100%. And it's completely okay to take a break. It's completely
Yeah.
okay to disconnect to reconnect,
Hmm.
or we got to recharge ourselves, and we got to know what
Yeah.
energizes ourselves. So that's really good. And like you said, that we can fall into this place of doing more and
Yeah.
seeing that we're falling short or that we're not doing enough. And then sometimes where we just need to chill and pump the brakes, and we'll be refreshed and
Yeah,
renewed.
right? Yeah, it's really working on mindset. I think that's one of the biggest things of getting sober is you get to identify your own kind of like thought patterns and even like limiting beliefs on yourself. And then you have like the clarity to actively work on it.
So what with that being said, with
Hmm.
having that clarity, with working on your mindset, right? um what where can someone start if they're experiencing, if they okay, I stopped drinking, I'm just negative all the time now I'm just
Mm.
negative. Where does somebody start working on their mindset for that?
I think even just catching thoughts and like sometimes we feel a mood shift and we're not sure why, we're just like feeling down, and it's like if you can become aware of like what am I telling myself right now, like what thoughts am I believing, because it's about like challenging thoughts. So often thoughts come into our head and we just accept them as truth without challenging them. So if you're like having like maybe a slower day because maybe you freaking need a slower day, and then you're feeling down because you're telling yourself like, oh my god, I'm lazy, I'm not being productive enough, I'm not doing enough, it's like that's the thought that made you feel bad. So just catching it and challenging it and being like, okay, well, rather than telling myself I'm not doing enough, I could tell myself I'm a human who needs to slow down sometimes, and it's okay. And like what I've really found too is that whenever, and especially shifting this year to like being self-employed and doing everything I'm doing online, like it's so hard to shut off sometimes and to give yourself a day. But I found that whenever I like give myself full permission to just take a day, I come back the next day, I'm full of motivation, I'm full of new ideas, I'm like ready to go. And it just always reminds me like rest is actually very productive, and I need to practice that more.
The more we stretch, the more we need to rest. We can't
Hmm.
overload ourselves with work and think that we're performing well when we're actually just burning ourselves out, and
Yeah.
we're not taking the time to energize ourselves. So no, I absolutely love your perspective on that, right? When we can just challenge our own thoughts and say, no, I
Hmm.
can't rest, versus saying, hey, it might be okay to rest. Right?
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where I've had clients who are like, Jay, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And I'm like, yo, what coach needs you to do today is rest. Today's a
Mhm.
rest day.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. No,
Yeah.
that's
Even
good.
like self-talk after putting yourself out there. Like I always laugh about this, but I used to have what I called the post-podcast spiral. I
Okay.
would go on a podcast and then I would like feel so good and be having fun. Then I would get off it and I would be like, oh my God, I did so bad. I shouldn't have said this. I should have said this better. I sounded so stupid. And I would go. And like it's something that like the more I just kept putting myself out there, the more that got quieter and then it stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't have that same spiral anymore. And it's like it's practicing being vulnerable. It's like you can have, even if you like are sober and you share in a meeting or something, it doesn't mean you're putting yourself out there publicly. But I think even sometimes walking away from a coffee with a friend, you can walk away and get so caught in like overthinking everything. So I think it's a real practice to kind of let that go as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have those same things anytime I produce a podcast. I
Hmm.
just recently did a keynote. I get off stage and I was like, oh snap. I was like, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. I didn't.
Right?
And then
But you feel good while you're doing it, right? Like I'd always
yeah.
feel good while I was doing it, and then I would get off, and then one thing would pop into my head, like, oh, I said that, and then it would snowball, and then suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I did so bad.
100%. And if you're anything like me, I actually measure, like I measure my energy from validation. I get off
Yeah.
stage and I'm thinking to myself, I'm devaluing myself, telling myself I did bad, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. And
Right.
then 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people come up to me and say that was amazing, and phenomenal.
Right?
And
Oh my God, that's so funny because I always found the same. Like sometimes, even with putting out like a podcast episode, maybe it's like a solo episode, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so bad. But like, I never let myself not put it out because I think that I'm challenging that. I'm still gonna put it out. And then sometimes I'll get a message like, this was exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm like, even if you say what one person needed to hear to help them that day, then like it's worth it, no matter how bad you think you did, or like, our little perfectionist brains who want to say everything perfectly. And
You
yeah, it's
know,
a real practice.
100%. And one thing that I've implemented to really help me grow past that is just telling myself it's not about me.
Yeah,
And
right?
knowing like when I start judging myself on like what I said or how I did, I'm like, oh Jay, you're being selfish now. Now you're
Because it's the
worried.
ego, right? That's just
Yeah.
coming from a place of ego for sure. But if you have 10 people after your speech being like, that was amazing, that really helped me, then like that right there makes it worth it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so nine times out of ten, guys, we are in our way when it comes to our self-limiting thoughts, when it comes to
Mhm.
our own self-talk, when we're telling ourselves we're not worthy or something, we don't deserve something. When somebody asks me a simple question like, Jay, how much do you charge? Instantly in my head, I'm like, yo, Jay, are you worth your fee that you set for yourself for your business
Mm.
and the services that you provide? Like, I don't even have enough trust in myself without challenging those thoughts. So I love that you even brought that lesson up, that to challenge those thoughts that come up, and maybe something that everybody's still working on because we can't show up perfect, but we can show up
Yeah,
the best that we
exactly.
can, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's none of us, we're all still works in progress. That's why the last lesson I said is one that I'm still working on, still figuring out, but something that I know logically like I need to always
Yeah.
be practicing.
So let me ask you, looking back on 2023, what has
Mhm.
been, we talked about the trip, so I want to exclude the trip from this answer, except for the
Okay.
trip, right? What has been the most exciting thing that you've discovered about yourself?
Oh, the most exciting thing I've discovered about myself. Um, I think that I have a lot more faith now in my ability to like connect with people and to sort of bring people together because I've been doing so much of that this year. And that's been such a joy for me this year, whether it's been traveling and meeting up with people or whether it's been, my group, the Happiest Sober Hub. Like I think that's been that's been a real highlight of my year for sure. Even like, aside from the group or the trip, like I started this new thing and I've only done it once, but when I was in Denver, I was like, I'm gonna do just like a coffee meetup. Like I'm gonna be here from this time to this time, just like come say hi. And I'm like, I want to do this every time I'm in a new city, just as a way to like a fun way to kind of connect with people. And it's just it was like out of my comfort zone a little bit, but like that's what makes it kind of a cool new thing to do. So I think, yeah, I think just really the fact that I really love getting to connect with people in a different way.
Absolutely. And I want you to talk more about your happiest sober hub, your happiest sober meetups. Like what do those look like? What can somebody expect walking into that? Of course, if anybody's anywhere where you're traveling, she does a lot of traveling, guys. She's out of the country, she's in Canada, she's in the US, she's in Croatia, she's everywhere. Catch her while you can, right? But it's the fact that, what is that now and what do you expect that to grow into?
So right now, so the Happiest Sober Hub is my like online support group. So when you join, you get access to like a private Facebook group where we all connect, and then we meet on Zoom twice a week. Although for the month of December right now, it's 3 times a week just for some extra over the holidays. So it's weekly Zoom meetings. But it's oh my God, it's brings me so much joy, that community. Like it's such an amazing, supportive community. And whenever, if I'm in anyone's city who's in my group, I'll like meet up with them. And I've gotten to meet quite a few of them now in real life. And when I was in Denver recently, I invited like open invitation if any of you want to come visit. So a few of us got dinner together. And I definitely, that was like the start of it, but I definitely want to start incorporating like in-person meetups for the Happiest Sober Hubs, maybe like a few a year where we all get to meet in real life somewhere. That's my hope for 2024 in the group, is to start doing more in-person meetups with them. But for now, it's every week virtually we connect there.
Absolutely. And that's exciting. That's something to run towards, guys. That's something, to have something to look forward to. And as you continue to grow, one, in your leadership, as you continue to grow your brand and continue to learn more about yourself. You're able to curate those experiences and help and impact people along the way. So one, thank you for everything that you've been doing, all the work that you put in, all the people that you support, and that's definitely something to check out if you want some support when it comes to being sober, when it comes to being sober curious, when it comes to just, fellowshipping and getting into community around some good-hearted people, right? So that's one thing that's awesome. What's also really awesome, I want to plug Amplify here, is that you will be there and you'll be helping us put on a VIP alcohol-free mixer where we'll be doing just that, guys. We'll be just community fellowshipping, getting to know each other, meeting up in person, almost like a springboard to what you're going to be curating for the Happiest Sober Club. So I'm super excited about that experience to share that space with you and anybody who's in the Happiest Sober Club. If you're with Happiest Sober Hub, I said club. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It's a cute name too.
Yeah, maybe you'll start a club. Who
Right?
knows? Happiest Sober Club. Write it down. But anybody who's there, welcome to come and meet up with us as well in Scottsdale. Before we end this, before we stop all of this, I wanna ask you, what, when I say the words amplify your growth, what comes to mind to you?
Amplify your growth. I think it just makes me think of like having a growth mindset, like just really kind of like we've been talking about, being willing to be uncomfortable. I think that's such a key to growing, is to be willing to stretch yourself and push yourself out of your comfort zone. And to just be really like to kind of go all in on yourself in that way. Like I think it's something you kind of go all in on, and it's like sometimes it's hard, but it's always worth it, and it's exciting. It makes life so much more exciting.
I couldn't have said it any better, Madeline. Thank you. And
Thank you.
this has been absolutely amazing fun, and we're gonna have so much more fun at the workshop where you can experience Madeline in person, live, and she's gonna be serving up some mocktails. She's gonna be cutting some jokes on the panel.
Oh,
She's like, oh, yeah, I'm
do I have to
giving
write
you.
some jokes now?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I think there'll be some jokes there. It's gonna be a good time. I'm super excited. Please tell everybody where they can find you, where they can sign up for the Happiest Sober Hub, where they can go on a trip with you if they're looking. Just tell everybody all the things.
Yes. Oh my God. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. I love our chats always. And I cannot wait to meet you in person. But okay, yes, I'm on Instagram at Happiest Sober. You can listen to my podcast, Happiest Sober Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts. For my group, the Happiest Sober Hub, you can head to the link in my bio on Instagram or go to happiestsober.com. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter there. And then my trip to Croatia, there are still spots available for that. It's in May. And if you head to the bio, my link in my bio on Instagram, you can see all the details there.
Yes. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, your effort, your energy. Thank you for being here. Like I said, this was a little pop-up, little different series, and you're going to hear from more of the speakers from Amplify as well. Madeline, thank you again. Thank you. It's always an honor. Like you said, I love our chats. But yeah, until next time, we'll talk soon. All right.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Of course.